Hello everybody, welcome to our free call for this week. We're going to talk all about launch content versus evergreen content, and I'm going to share some content things with you. So I got this great question, which this is why I wanted to talk about this. And I'm going to answer two questions in today's live because I think they tie together. And there's lots of things I want to say on the topic of content as well. I think it can be very confusing the way it's taught in the online space, and I have a certain perspective on it. So before I get into it, I really want to explain why content is so freaking great. So just to put this in perspective, I started in authorship back in 2016. That's when I published my debut novel. And I had this realization the day that I published that I would need to market my book, and that I would need to keep marketing the book day after day after day if I wanted to sell copies of the book. And I realized how much manual labor that was and how exhausting that was going to get over time, and that I would have to commit to that for the next 60 years, and then I would have to do it for every book. And I really thought to myself, there has to be a better way than for me to have to go out every day and pitch it and sell it and build connections and whatnot. And I thought to myself, what is a better way? How can I just have readers? How can I have them find me? How can I magnetize them to my brand? How can I position myself the way that brick and mortar stores position themselves and have people just wander into the shop? I thought to myself, if I can walk into, for example, the Body Shop. I don't know if you have that in the US, but it's like a skincare shop. If I can walk into that and of my own accord, just be attracted by the branding, by the products in the shop front, and want to go in there and browse and learn more, and maybe find something that I want to buy and bring it to the counter and purchase it without having to talk to anyone in that store, or be told first you must come into our store and buy something, or be pitched are you looking for a skincare product? None of that. Just lead myself into the sale. If I can do that, how can I create the same thing for readers? How can I have them find my book, qualify themselves, have them go, this sounds like a great read, I want to pick it up, I want to learn more, I want to buy it, and create that experience, right? That is how I discovered content, and specifically content marketing and attraction marketing, right? Because content is what does that. Content is how you do that. So there are other sales strategies out there, of course, if you want to be more hands-on, if you want to run ads, for example, if you want to go out and build relationships and have that be your primary strategy, if you want to, and I guess it depends on your strengths as well. If you don't really get content, if you really struggle with content, but you do, you're really great at starting conversations, you're a real social butterfly, and you're really good at magnetizing people to you based on the fact that you can talk, right? I actually have clients who are really good at this, who can go out and go on Instagram and they're not the best at content, but they can go talk to 5 people and suddenly they're BFFs with everyone, and they've got them all promised that they're going to read their book, right? Read the arc, I mean. That's kind of a big deal. That's kind of a skill set. Not everyone can do that. I certainly cannot do that. I am very bad at starting conversations with people. I'm good at responding when people comment on my stuff, but I'm very bad at going out and just naturally starting conversations with people, right? But content makes sense to me as a writer, which is why I teach it as well, because not only is it so beneficial in the sales process, but I think that once you get over the basics and you really learn how to do content, it becomes very easy, because as a writer, you're already good at writing. You already like to write. You already like to create. You're creative. So depending what kind of content resonates best with you, you can do a lot of email content. You can do a lot of caption content in your Instagram posts, right? If you're good at graphic design, you can do graphics with them. If you're good at video, you can do Instagram Reels. Oh, no, that is it. Yeah, Instagram Reels. I was thinking of TikTok. Instagram Reels, TikTok. You can do Instagram Stories. It really depends what medium works best for you. Content is literally anything you can consume online. It can be blogs, it can be podcasts, it can be anything. It can be YouTube videos, right? So whatever works best for you is what I would kind of leverage as your skill set here. And the more you put out content, the more you are going to get people's attention, right? Because people are going to see your stuff, and if you're doing it right, they're going to resonate with it. They're going to get interested. They're going to get curious. They're going to want to come back and learn more about you. They're going to discover your book. They're going to become aware of your book. They're going to learn more about your book. They're going to realize this book sounds really good. I think I want to buy this book, right? They're going to get really interested in your book and realize, like, this is something I want to read. Do you, like, okay, so like this is like an example whenever I'm on TikTok, it's really easy to sell me books because all I do is like, I'll find a TikTok that has like a snippet of a book or it poses a scenario in the book. And if it speaks to my core reading desire, if it's like a love-hate romance, for example, because I really like love-hate romances, if it's spelling out a scenario that I find really juicy in a love-hate romance, and I'm like, that sounds like a really great conflict, that sounds really interesting, or I'm like, these characters have a lot of chemistry, I really like them on the page. If it's something like that, it usually makes me curious enough to want to go check out more info. And I don't always buy, but like, I'll know if I'm interested in reading it at a minimum. And then it kind of comes down to me finding the book and how easily I can find the book from there. It comes down to whether I can buy it from, like, I like ebooks, so whether I can buy it as an ebook in my preferred app, whether the reviews kind of promise that I think I'm going to enjoy it, if I like the preview of it, you know, like those kinds of things will lead me to my purchasing decision. Just personally as a consumer for me, right? So content can lead you to sales. Here's the thing I want to be really clear about though, right? There's a difference between content that is meant to build your author brand and like attract readers in and engage them, and it can serve your sales process and it can do a lot of things. But there's a difference between free content and value content and sales content. Sales content is there for selling. It is like, that is the intention. And the problem is that you either have only the free value content or you only have the sales content, right? And the sales content, if you just have the sales content, if all you're doing day in, day out is going, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, all the graphics are like, the book is on sale now, it's 99 cents, it's free for a limited time, what are you waiting for? You know, like, don't forget to get your copy, like all that stuff, and you're not doing any other kind of content to tell people what the book is about and why they might enjoy it and who you are as a reader, as a writer, sorry. And like your personality, your values, those kinds of things that build your brand. If you're not doing those things, you're not going to draw people in because you're like a walking billboard and no one likes that. It doesn't mean they don't like being sold to. It doesn't mean that they don't want to hear what books they can buy, but they want to know first that it's actually for them, that they're actually going to enjoy it, that they actually like you as a writer, right? Or else the sales pieces are not going to connect. So you don't want to have just one or just the other. If you only have the other, then you're not going to make sales, right? Like your sales are going to be less consistent because you're relying on them really self-leading themselves in the sales process. And while that's kind of the goal and it's possible, you also want to be making it very clear, like, here is how you purchase. Here is what to do. Here is where it is. Here is why you should buy now. Those kinds of things, right? And so what I like to teach in my courses is I teach out a sales process. When I teach launching, I teach it based on a sales process because this is what's going to actually move people towards buying more frequently and more consistently and more regularly. Is that you start out by attracting readers in. You start out by making yourself discoverable so people can find you. You move people through to becoming aware of your book, becoming aware of what it's about, why they might enjoy it, you know, like the common themes and issues and values that they're going to connect with, the emotional hooks that they're going to connect with. And then you move them through to the final stage, which is where you then get them to buy and you invite them to take that next step with you. And it all moves together when you have the right content and it's going out like, and when I say at the right time, I don't mean like it's going out on a Tuesday or a Thursday, right? I was having a conversation about this in my other, in my membership just before, like literally just before this call. It's like, I think people get hung up on like, when do I put stuff out, right? To know when to put stuff out, it's not about putting it out at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, because that doesn't matter. It's about putting it out like when it serves the goal, right? So this is why having an understanding of the sales process is really important, and it's going to help you to feel like creating content is easier, right? Because if you know, my audience is new, they have not heard about this book yet, they don't know what this book is, they don't know why they would buy it, they have only just discovered me, I've only just gotten a bunch of followers from a collaboration I did. Like, if you know that's where your audience is at, then you know you're not going to jump straight into a sales pitch because that's not going to land. You know that the point of your content, the goal, the intention behind your content is to spark curiosity, is to spark engagement, is to get them engaged and get them interested in the book and become product aware of the book in the first place, because that's the first step, right? So if you then know what is my goal with my content right now, then you know when to post that kind of content, because obviously it's at the beginning of the sales process, right? If you then have readers that have been there for some time, they're kind of warm, they're interested, they're engaged, and then you can say to them like, hey, okay, so I know you guys have heard about this book a bit, here's why it's for you. Here are some common themes and issues and tropes, right? Here is how you know if you're going to enjoy this or not. if you can get more clear on that, then you know that stage of the sales process is when you post that content, right? So like that's how you figure out the when and the what. So hopefully that's all making sense. I know it was a really long-winded intro to content. So I want to answer this question around like launch content versus evergreen content. So we kind of just walked through, especially with what I teach in my programs, how I teach it based on a sales process. So launch content is going to support your launch. It's going to move people through the sales process. We are aiming with the intention that we are taking someone who doesn't know about your book, who doesn't know who you are, who doesn't know why they'd want to buy your book, and we're moving them through to becoming product aware and realizing that they want to buy your book, and having decided on that, like empowering them and activating them to take that decision, and then closing the sale with them. The goal of your content every step of the way with launch content is going to be to do that, right? So I want to kind of walk through a couple of examples of this as well. And this is also going to answer another question that I got, which I might talk about in a second. So I got asked like around gaining new followers versus maintaining the ones you have. So this is similar to launch versus evergreen, right? And like I just explained, if you know that you don't have the right people in front of you yet, or your people are not aware of your book, you're probably going to be focused on gaining readership, right? In the beginning of your launch, before you put the book out and kind of like do a cover reveal and do the arcs and do the pre-order campaign and all of that, you want to make sure you have readers in the first place. So that's where, again, with you know the goal, you know the intention of your content, and you know, like, okay, I need to get readers into my sphere. How do I do that? So some ways you can do that is like, first of all, get outside your friends and family bubble. I actually have a really great podcast episode on this. Let me make a note. I'm going to drop it at the end. Just don't want to forget to do it. But basically, this is like one of the biggest problems I see is that people decide, like, I'm gonna launch my book, and then they just sell it on platforms that they've established, like their Instagram, their Facebook, their email list, but they're not actually actively working on growing and expanding their audience or getting outside of their audience. So they don't reach other people. And that's how you only sell to friends and family. And obviously your friends and family, I also see different patterns here where sometimes friends and family will buy and be supportive and sometimes they won't. And it can upset authors because they're like, why wouldn't people buy my book, right? Here's the thing. If your family knows, likes, and trusts you, that's part of the piece. The fact that they already know you, if they want to support you, they're going to buy your book to support you because they know, like, trust you already. The other part of it is that they have to actually be an ideal reader for the book. So I wouldn't get offended if people say, I don't want to read this. They're actually doing you a favor because they're not going to have anything positive to say about it. And it's probably going to make you feel really crap if they didn't enjoy the book, right? So when you get outside your friends and family bubble, the goal is that you introduce yourself to new people. You attract them back to your sphere so that they can get to know, like, trust you. Because when people buy, it's because they know, like, trust you. And they are an ideal reader. They have decided this book is for me. They've self-qualified themselves, right? So ways that you can do this is that, like, you can do collaborations. You can go to other established audiences and leverage that to draw people back to yours. It's like going to an audience that you want to have, right? So this could be that you know similar authors to you. You make connections with similar authors to you and you go do something together so that that audience gets introduced to you. Because then you're leveraging their audience who is already established and know, like, trust that author. So they're loyal to that author, and the fact that that author is partnering with you and doing something with you, it shows that they trust you. So it establishes that immediate trust. So that is a way you can do that. There's other ways. So I'm going to drop that podcast episode, which is going to help you to do like this if you need that as a first step. So look for that at the end of the video. I will drop that. So that's like kind of like how you get new followers, right? Is you need to know where you're at in the sales process. You need to know what kind of content you're putting out. You need to be taking steps to get people into your audience. And then when you want to maintain the ones you already have, it's about moving them through the sales process sometimes, you know, if they're already there, if they're already engaged, but you need to get them to the sale. Sometimes it's about doing the launch process. Sometimes it's about evergreen content after the launch has happened, right? So the difference between the launch content is the launch content is essentially sales-based. It's moving towards a sales goal. It's moving towards the eventual sales content you plan to put out. It is there to support the timeline of you getting a book established in the market, getting people product aware about it, creating reviews and hype around it so that it sells afterwards, right, after it hits shelves. When something is evergreen, it means it's available from that point forward. Like, it's not going to go away. It's going to be relevant for a really long time. So once your book hits shelves, and this is a big mistake I see with people launching, is that they will put a book out without having done any of that prior stuff. So they don't have the build up for sales. They don't have the awareness, the hype for sales. And then they expect it to sell. And once it hits shelves, you can't build that hype anymore. You can't build that awareness. It takes longer, right? It's like there's less, it's harder as well, because here's the thing with it, is that a launch is going towards an event, right? And the exciting thing about a launch of something is that they can't get their hands on it before that day. They can't get their hands on the book. They hear all these people talking about it. They get excited about it. Like, think about something that has released that you got really excited for, right? It could have been that there was a video game coming out and you were so excited to play it, right? And you heard all this stuff about it. You heard all these great things from publicity and media about it. You saw previews of it. You knew that you liked the company or you liked their previous game, so there was trust there was excitement there, and you just can't wait to get your hands on it, right? And so that excitement builds and builds and builds, and it makes you want to buy because there is a period of time where you can't get your hands on it yet. So if you do the launch right, by the time your book comes out, there's going to be people talking about it. There's going to be people going, this is such a good book, you have to get your hands on it. There's going to be people who are like building that hype, building that, what's the right word for it? You know when something's kind of overhyped as well and it gets talked about a lot, like something's trendy on TikTok or BookTube, and it's like everyone's talking about it, and it kind of makes you feel like you're missing out on something. It makes you feel like everyone's talking about this. Why are they talking about it? It makes them feel like, there's all these inside jokes and I'm missing them because I haven't read this book yet. It gets people excited. So all of that builds in anticipation to your launch day, which is an event. If you just put the book out and then it becomes evergreen, so people can buy it at any time, there's no anticipation, there's no hype, they're not going to feel that. So there's less incentive, there's less excitement, there's less urgency for them to go out and buy your book immediately, because they can do it anytime, literally anytime they want from that point forward. And there's nothing that's like gonna make them want to do it. So like, it's kind of like if you've decided like, oh, I want to buy this product, it could be like a pair of sweatpants, right? You could have decided like, I'm gonna buy sweatpants, I need sweatpants, I'm gonna do it when I next remember to. You could put that off for like 2 weeks, 4 months, a year. Like, you could just keep putting it off because you keep forgetting to do it. There's no incentive to do it quickly. There's no excitement to do it. It's just like, oh, it's a thing I need to do. I'll get to it, right? It's kind of like that with books, where people, they get distracted, they find other books they want to read. They feel like I have to finish my books first. There's nothing that really pushes them to go, I want to get this now, right? So the thing about evergreen content is that it's similar in a sense that it's always relevant, right? So your evergreen content exists to support the maintaining of your audience base, right? It's basically stuff that you've created once that can be repurposed and used again, or you can reshare it again. So it could be like a relevant blog post. It could be that, let's say you were doing a lead up to your launch and you had a couple of blog posts about your book that maybe just talked about it in general to educate people about it. If you want to bring in new readers for the book 3 months later after release, you can share those blogs again. And like, obviously the book would be out by then, but you can tweak the blog post so that it's not talking about like pre-order now. And you can just say like, if you missed it, the second book's going to come out soon. If you want to know about the first book, here's a blog about it, right? And so people are again going to be able to get educated on it. It could be that you have an evergreen email sequence that whenever someone signs up for the first time, they go through it again and again and again, and you never have to change it. It's just like any new reader that comes into your sphere goes through that and gets educated about your book. It could be that you have a podcast episode that's really good that you could listen to at any point in time and eventually sells your book, or a backlist title, right? And people are just always going to be able to buy into the book series from that one episode. It could be that you have a really great piece of feed content in your Instagram, like a preview of the book, for example, and it doesn't matter if they're reading it before launch day, on launch day, 2 years later, they're still going to get interested in reading the book because of that post, if they find it, if they stumble across it. So evergreen content is something that can always be used, right? And similar to your book, it's something that will always be relevant to sell the book. So it's different in a sense that it's there to anything that can be used in launch, like, hang on, I'm not wording this right. there are things in launch that can also be used evergreen, is what I'm saying. Like, you just have to be strategic in figuring out what are those things, and even creating those things with intention of using them later. But also you can create stuff after the book comes out that is then going to be able to be reused and recycled from that point forward. If you know you want to take like a 2 to 3 month break between launches, you might intentionally put out some evergreen content that you can share 2 or 3 times while you're away without having to create new content. And it's just always going to be relevant and there, right? So like that stuff you can do just to keep people engaged. Because if you stop showing up, if you stop posting, if you stop your visibility, your strategy stops, your sales stop, your readership building stops. And so it's not necessarily about always putting out new content and being fresh and exciting. Sometimes it's just about maintaining your presence and like the commitment, it's kind of like the intention behind it. It's kind of like your willingness to maintain the community, to maintain the engagement, to maintain your presence and show people like you haven't just dropped off the face of the earth. You didn't just show up so people would buy, but at the same time, you're honoring your need to like take some time away, but you also want to make sure there's stuff there for people. And if you worry like, well, people have already seen this post, like they're going to be angry to see it again. No, like you can reshare stuff and people will not remember that you've shared it. If they do, that's actually a good thing because it means they're paying very close attention, and that's kind of what you want. That's kind of the goal, is that people are so engaged, so excited, so interested in what you have to say that they're not going to care that they're reading it again. That just shows that they're really interested. They're a really engaged audience member of yours. So all this stuff is good, right? So here's the thing. I want to give you some examples of content as well, because I think this can be helpful to hear. And again, like the intention behind it, whether it's a launch content piece or an evergreen content piece, really just depends on like what kind of content you're creating and why you're putting it out. So let's see. So the first stage of the sales process, right? If you're creating content with the intention of hooking people who don't yet know you, right? So this is stuff that's going to spark curiosity. It's going to interest people. It's going to build product awareness, right? And this is for readers who have zero awareness of you and your book and they just found you, right? So it could be that they were scrolling through the algorithm, they saw a post. It could be that someone shared your post and they were in a different audience and they saw you. It could be that they heard you mentioned or saw you on an Instagram takeover or some kind of collaboration and they went to your profile and found you for the first time. Any of those things, right? So this can be like a teaser of your book, because this can be like, you know, them finding it in the feed. They can see this teaser and they can go like, that sounds really good. What book is this, right? Who wrote this? And so they go find you. It could be a quote. It can be a reel about your book. It can be a cover reveal. If you get a lot of people sharing your cover and people are seeing it for the first time, they go, that looks really good. I love this cover. What book is this, right? Could be collaborations. So this is for gaining new followers and expanding your reach. These are action steps you can take outside of just like actually going outside your friends and family audience. This is stuff you can be putting out to expand your reach. Then you've got people who do know of you, but maybe they're still not super clear on why they would like your book. So it could be content that entertains people, educates people, hooks them on a key aspect of your book. If you're a romance reader, you're going to be looking for romance scenes, specifically scenarios that you as a romance reader want to read. You're going to be looking, like if you're a fantasy reader, you're going to look for fantasy scenarios that you want to read. So it's about you as the author being able to tap into the particular scenes and tropes and content pillars that actually light your readers up, that make you as a writer go, this is really exciting to write. I think people are going to love reading this, right? Finding those scenes and sharing them. And so this is for readers who have some awareness of your book, but they don't know why they might like to buy it or why they might enjoy it just yet. So you're kind of, the goal is to bridge that gap for them. So this could be like in your Instagram captions, you're talking about some of the things about your book that people might like. I'll give you an example. 1 second. Because I actually have this on one of mine. And I think it might be better to just hear it. 1 second here. Technology is always so slow. Let's see. Okay, so this is for my book series that I'm working on at the moment. But like, for example, I might put in my caption, this is for you if you like mermaids, sirens, sea witches, ancient curses, fairy tale retellings, underwater kingdoms, evil stepmothers, royal romance, and poison apples. So if that any of that makes you go like, ooh, that sounds good as a reader, you know, like I love evil stepmothers, I love underwater kingdoms and mermaids, I love fairy tale retellings, that's obviously going to get your interest. You're going to be like, that sounds like something I would enjoy, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about, is like just general captions that speak to reading desires, specific teasers that tap into reading desires. It could even be as simple as like, I'll find another example for you really quickly. It's probably going to be a bad one, but I've been doing this a bit over on my main account. So, for example, I did one the other day. Actually, you know what? It might be easier if I show you, but it's like I kind of did like a lead into a scenario in my book and said, when this thing happened, that thing happened, and it kind of made people go, that sounds like an interesting conflict or scenario. So let me just pop that into the video. Where's the video? Here it is. I'll pop this in the comments real quick. So if you want to go check that out afterwards, don't click away from this yet. That's an example of what I'm talking about here. And then it could be exclusive previews, exclusive first looks. You could host these on like a blog or an email list or something like that. So it's for hooking new followers into your world and community and getting them to self-qualify if they're interested in your books. If they see this and they go, yep, I think this is good, I want to read this, that's going to be what they'll do. If they look at that and go, that's not for me, they'll filter themselves out, and that's fine. So the third type of content for further along in the sales process is for readers who know of you and are engaged. So they kind of have seen this stuff from you. They're like, this is something I'm interested in. I'm just on the fence for whatever reason. Like they haven't yet purchased for whatever reason. This could be that, you know, they don't trust you yet, or that maybe they're trying to decide between a couple of books, or they just haven't had incentive and urgency and motive to go buy it, right? So this is where you would want to put like authoritative content out, positioning content out, social proof content, and all of this is going to build safety and trust around you as an author, kind of demonstrates that you know what you're doing and that you're professional, you're established, and it's going to back your pricing decisions. And it's also like, it can be publicity content as well. It can be other people advocating for your book, because that just builds excitement and hype, and it builds that trust again that other people are also advocating for the book. It says a lot for someone else to say this is a good book, as opposed to you as the author tooting your own horn. Not that it's bad to self-promote, but it's a bit harder. Like it's that bias that's associated with it. Like, of course you're going to think your book's really good. So sometimes it's helpful for readers to hear from other people, this is valid, like this book is good, right? So this could be that you're sharing that other people are reading it or enjoying it. If you get tagged and it's like, I just bought this book, you might reshare that and go, hope you enjoy it. And it just shows that this book is getting purchased, right? This book is getting read. It could be that you're sharing reviews that you've gotten. It could be that you're sharing sales milestones. If you're like, I just hit this many pre-orders, that shows the book is selling. And like, you can make it a collaborative community type thing where you're celebrating with your audience, you're thanking them for the support. So it's not just like, oh, look at me, I made all this sales. It's like, this was you guys, you know, you guys helped me do this. Thank you so much. Can we get to maybe this many? Share it with your friends. It could be achievements to indicate popularity around the book, like it got an award, for example, or it's made a bestsellers list. It can be showcasing your expertise writing in that particular genre. So it's one thing to say like, I'm a good author, I'm good at romance. It's another thing to say, this is how you write a kissing scene. I wrote a blog post about it, right? It's one thing to say, like, I have a fantasy book that's coming out in May. It's another thing to say, like, this is how this, let me think of it better. It could be like, this book is the new Game of Thrones. If you enjoyed Game of Thrones, you're going to run and read this book, here's why. And then you list out 3 things about the book, specifically related to fantasy, that make it something that's going to be really exciting, right? So like, it's about the positioning of how you put stuff out, but that kind of thing can be helpful. So like I said, this can be guest blogs and podcast interviews, as well as like your own blogs and stuff. It can be early ARC reviews. It can be promoting events. Like it says a lot to position yourself and say, I'm doing a workshop this month. I'm doing a live event. I'm doing a live reading. It shows that you're in authorship. You're doing it as a living, as a profession. Like people are seeing you out there doing it, living the lifestyle, and it shows like, this is the real deal. You're the real deal. You're out there doing it, right? So promoting the events, media publicity, pre-order campaigns, things like that. Just promoting that stuff. And that is for followers who have decided they're interested, but are still somewhat on the fence about why to purchase. And then finally, this is when we move into sales content, right? So like I said in the beginning, a bit different to value content. This is when people already know, like, trust you. They have decided, I'm gonna buy this book. They just need that final push to go do it, right? So this is content that's gonna activate and empower them in the sales process. I actually put on my stories, it's probably gone now. Yesterday I talked a little bit about the messaging behind your content. And I talked a bit about how people have this really common messaging where they go out and say, like, don't forget to pre-order, don't forget to buy now, don't forget to add this to your list, don't forget to join my email list. And it's kind of like, I don't know why people always word their stuff like that. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but what it makes me feel as a consumer, it really turns me off because it feels like nagging. I don't know if you guys resonate with that, but to me, it kind of feels like someone saying, don't forget to do the dishes before you go. Don't forget to get a jacket. Don't forget to pick this up at the store. And I'm a bit like, I don't need reminding. I know what I'm doing, right? Like, if someone says to me, right as I'm about to do dishes, don't forget to do the dishes. Like, have you done them yet? Have you pre-ordered my book yet? I would be like, well, now I'm not. Now I don't want to because you just told me that I needed to do it, and now I feel like that's the last thing in the world I want to do. It actually deactivates people in the sales process when you talk about things a certain way sometimes, right? So you want to be able to position your sales content in the right way, in an empowering, activating way. And this can really be as simple as like leading, like, again, this kind of wording, I don't want you to take it the wrong way, because like if you're assuming that people are going to go buy your book, it's really easy to say, don't forget to do that. It's more about saying like just saying pre-orders are up now for people who were going to go buy them. Like, it's you assuming like people are going to go buy them, they just need to know when, how, what, right? So it's like pre-orders up now, link in my bio, right? It's like saying Waterstone's just restocked for if you needed paperbacks, right? It's like saying if you're after the ebook, it's $2.99 this week. Right, it's perfect in time for Mother's Day. It's kind of about saying it without telling people like go do it. It's kind of just saying like, here it is, this is how you do it, and letting people lead themselves in that sale, because that empowers them. It's like, yes, I was going to go do that. Now is the great time. Thanks for reminding me. So it's kind of about that. Let me know if that makes sense. And I mean, like, you can do it anywhere that feels good to you. This is just me giving you some copywriting and positioning tips for your writing, right? But it's like, basically with the assumption that they're going to take action now, they're going to go get their copy because they've already decided they're interested and they just need to take action. So it's like, it's your captions encouraging sales, it's you giving incentive and reason. It's like saying, I have a pre-order campaign, if you buy it now, you're going to get this, right? It's like saying, it's on sale for a limited time. It's like saying, if you want to start, if you're interested in book 2, you want to start with book 1, here it is. So it's that kind of conversation pieces. And it can, I think, like, decomplicate sales, right? It's just about putting invitations and offers out there. It's not like you have to be like, this is like the perfect sales strategy and process. It's like you're having conversations about your book. What I love to say for people who are having salesy feelings around selling is like, your readers are already looking for their next favorite book and they've already decided that it's your book if you've done all these pieces beforehand. So your only job is meeting them halfway in the sales process. Your job is saying like, here it is. This is what you're looking for. This is the book that meets all of your requirements. Here is how you buy it. Here is, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. It's kind of like just having conversations with people, talking about your book with people. I like to use the wording advocating for your book. Like, you are the best person to advocate for it. You are the best person to understand exactly why people would want to read it, why they would enjoy it. You are the best person to say, like, this is why I wrote it, this is who it's for. You're going to know that better than anyone else. So you can go out there and talk about it and talk about these pieces, and it will connect with the right people. But you can do it from a really chill place if you want to. You don't have to be all salesy. You can just say, this is who I wrote it for. If that sounds like something you want, this is how you get it. And so it also takes practice, but find your own groove with it. So yeah, like I said, it's captions, it's pre-orders, it's having the campaign, it's celebrating purchase milestones publicly and encouraging more people to take action on that invitation to buy. It's just stuff like that. And making it accessible. Oh my gosh. I'm going to drop another podcast episode. Actually, I don't know if this one's out yet. It's not out yet. Okay. There's a podcast episode coming up about why you should go wide with your distribution. When you see that one, listen to it, because I talk about a really frustrating problem I've had as a consumer around not being able to get access to books. And sometimes it's an accessibility issue. It's the fact that you're not putting the link in your bio for people to buy, or you're not telling people where it's available, or you're not making it available in multiple retailers, that you're not getting it into libraries. Sometimes it's an accessibility issue. So part of you closing sales is you being able to actually make the book available to buy. That's going to be a good episode. Keep an eye out for that one. But that's basically it. So like, there is all the 4 pieces of content. I hope that was really helpful. Let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts on what you took away from this video. So we talked about a bit about launch content. We talked about Evergreen. We talked about how it contributes to you launching versus you selling something Evergreen, kind of how it can serve you, how you can repurpose some of it. Let me know if it all landed for you. Let me know if you have any questions. I see that Ruby's here as well. Hi, Ruby. I'm going to quickly drop that podcast episode I talked about. And like I said here, like we talked a lot about the launch course, like because I teach a lot of this in the launch course. So if you're not already in the launch course and you're interested in learning more about it, because obviously that's like where we go into so much more detail about this. If you found this helpful, you'll find that the launch course helpful. So I'm going to drop a link to that as well for you guys. Let me just pop this here. It's also a mastermind. We have a hybrid of it. So you can join just the course and get access to all the course content and updates, but where my clients get really great results is when they also have that support throughout their launches. So you can also join the mastermind tier as well if you choose to. If you are not in the mastermind and you want to upgrade at any time, just reach out because there's a little upgrade fee, but you can join at any time. I'm going to drop that there. You can learn more. You can see all the testimonials. You can see the success stories and all the details there. Let me find this podcast episode for you. And if you have any questions, you can drop them. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else that might be helpful for this particular training? I might have some blog posts. Let's see. I'm just going to grab this episode first, though. I recommend this one so much. I need to bookmark it because I always go back and find it, and then I have to go back further and further every time because there's always new episodes coming out. Where is it? I think I went back too far. It is... Not it. Here it is. Okay, this is the one that will teach you how to get an audience into your sphere in the first place if you're struggling with that. So I'm just gonna say podcast episode so you know what that one is. And let me just find the link to my blog real quick because I know I have a few blogs there as well that can help. I want to make sure I give you the right kind of blogs here, but if you found this helpful, you may also find it helpful to look at the blog. So let me just look at the marketing real quick. Yeah, you might find this helpful because I talk a lot about different types of content, how to create, you know, for example, blog posts, email campaigns, which is all types of content. So, you know, you might find this helpful to look at. And I talk a bit about why you need content, how branding comes into play, how to build your online presence, how, like more about the sales process thing. So I'll just put that there as well. Even like how to define your ideal reader. That's really important. If your content is gonna resonate, you wanna make sure that you're also speaking to your ideal reader. So I'll just pop this in the comments as well for you. I'll just put blogs. But that's basically it. I think those resources will help you out if you wanna take this further. Let me know your thoughts on this training if it helped you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because I'm not seeing any questions, but I will be back next week with another free call for you guys. And that's basically it. So I will chat to you very soon. Okay.